Hey everybody, welcome to Tony's Time PGA Championship Edition. Myself, let me get the pointer right. I'm going to point that way. That guy right there, that's Doug Upstone. And by the way, before we get to a little PGA, I wanted to tip my hat to Mr. Upstone. 9-3 NBA run and 14-5 Major League Baseball run to complement his golf. Congratulations on that. It's a interesting climate in the NBA, Doug, here recently. We'll get to the golf in a second, but nonetheless, you're performing well in those two sports with the COVID restart. It's been a tough road to hoe, so congratulations on that.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. George. I appreciate that. Yes, it's been a really nice run here, just across the board, including some golf action, which we'll get to, like I said, in a minute. 17-3 run, I think that's over 5,600, as I recall, in total dollars based on units. So yeah, it's been really nice, and I wish I had the magic answer as to why, so that I could bottle it, but that's the nature of this business. Sometimes you're in the zone and sometimes you're not. Not unlike, I always use this analogy, looking at a putt when you're playing golf. When you got it going on, you can see the line on a 20-footer and you'll make it. And other times you're 3 feet away and you have no idea how to get it in the hole.
Exactly right. I played the other day and broke 80 and missed 4 putts inside of 3 feet. Now, the wind was blowing, 30 miles an hour, which affected on a very fast green. But, oh, my, frustrating. And I tell you what, it's going to be frustrating this week for a lot of players here at the TPC Harding Park, ladies and gentlemen. This is the first major of the year as Brooks Koepka goes for 3 in a row here. Hasn't been done since Walter Hagen did it in 1926. So it's quite a feat to win 3 PGA championships, or 3 majors, even 2 majors in a row here. But Doug, we got a par 70, 7,234 yard course. You got 6 par 4s of over 450 yards with very tight fairways, U.S. Open grass. And of course, the high temperature for this tournament, an interesting dichotomy to last week's hot and sticky, humid conditions down in Memphis. You're in the Bay Area here. 65 degrees is going to top out the temperature on any day in this tournament. Obviously, a weather blanket, the fog that comes into San Francisco has been present. It's been kind of damp and moist and a little chilly here. I think it's going to be a very interesting tournament. Of course, you've got some smaller greens on this. It's a municipal park, but you've got some smallish greens here, Doug. I think it's going to provide a lot of interesting golf. And when you mention the course in general, and I'll get your reaction to all this, it has 2 drivable par 4s on number 7 and number 16. It also has, on the par 4s, 6 dog's legs right and 6 dog legs left. So a player that's going to be able to shape his shot is going to have some success here, and those that don't are going to find themselves as some thick Kentucky bluegrass / ryegrass rough. That word is out of, at least on Golf Channel, pretty gnarly stuff if you miss the fairway.
Yeah, it's going to be I don't know what the score is going to be, because we don't have a lot of history. Looking at this golf course. I mean, there's been some events, most recently in 2015 that was there, where a match play with Rory McIlroy beating Gary Woodland for the championship. But like everything you said there, Tony, you got to keep it in the fairway. You have to be able to also hit long irons. I mean, we're a half a mile from the ocean, so those drives that we've seen really for the last several months at a variety of places with a hotter or certainly warmer weather, 330, 360, what you pick the number. There's going to be guys that'll be fortunate to reach 300 in this tournament because of that, that marine air coming in, and the conditions are going to be changeable throughout the day. So, the guys that, for example, tee off on early Thursday will see the benefits, potentially anyways, depending on if the wind picks up, but they'll see the benefits of being able to play in the afternoon then on Friday because of the difference. So it's going to be, I love it, actually, to be perfectly honest, because it puts the pressure on the golfer. And the guy that's a one-trick pony, good luck. Okay, he's going to have a tough road to hoe, and there's going to be a lot of guys that are going to miss the cut because they're not adaptable enough to play in a variety of conditions.
Yeah, and last week I said I thought 15 under would win it. There in the WGC. I think I was close to that. I can't remember the final score, but it was right around that number. And I think, this week here, 10 to 12 under probably will win it, maybe. It depends on the wind, which they say is going to be blowing from 12 to 18 miles an hour this week. So when you have dogleg right, dogleg left, and that wind, it's going to play different on every hole, and it will accentuate if you draw the ball and accentuate if you fade the ball, if you overdo it, and the wind's, with those shots. So I think the keys this week, Doug, in terms of handicapping this tournament, the three capping keys that I used was strokes gained off the tee box, total driving, not driving distance, and scrambling. And I pulled up, I kept this note here yesterday. Let's take a look at total driving in the PGA right now. And I'm just going to go top 10. And number one in total driving is Paul Casey. Then you have John Rahm, Lucas Glover, DJ, Dustin Johnson, DeChambeau, and he's probably also top two in length. Daniel Berger, Scotty Scheffler, Alexander Schauffele, who I think is going to make some noise here, Victor Hovland, and Doc Redman. And Hovland provides an interesting scenario. We've talked about him a lot this year for basically a new player on tour. And him and Morikawa, another new player on tour, getting a lot of chatter this week on the fantasy sites, Doug. But I think stroke gained off the tee in total driving is going to be a huge driving force for me, at least in my head-to-heads on a day-to-day basis.
I think you're absolutely right there, Tony. And the other element, to answer your first question, was minus 13 last week, Justin Thomas. So answer that particular question that you brought up. But yeah, I think that you have to be able to, as best you can, keep it in the fairway. I think that's going to be big. And it'll be fascinating to watch, too, how many guys that use the driver on Thursday and maybe Friday who put it more in the bag on some of these different holes on the weekend, just as they learn more about the playing conditions and just figure some things out. The other element that comes into play here is the greens because it's a municipal golf course, there's not a lot of undulation, so they're not really going to be that difficult to read. So if you pick up on the speed, that's where the strokes are going to be able to be found in terms of making things up. I think we're going to see a lot more of putts made from distance than what we typically see in most PGA Tour events, just because of the style of how the greens are set up. The other thing that's going to come into play too is the cypress trees. They line this golf course, up and down. And not only do you not want to hit them in the cypress trees, because as Tiger Woods says, you hit the trees, sometimes you don't find them. They stick in the trees. So that's a real problem there. But the other thing is that trying to shape shots that go above the trees where the wind comes more into play, you have no idea what you're hitting, what the ball's going to do once it gets above those trees, Tony.
Yeah, it's a very interesting golf course. There's not been a lot of play on this course. Tiger Woods has had some success here. There was a WGC tournament here. I believe there was a match play tournament here 8 or 9 years ago as well. But if you take a look at the odds board here, I'm going to go through it with you real quick. The number one player, Brooks Koepka, I believe is how you pronounce that, 10 to 1. Justin Thomas, 11 to 1. Roy McIlroy, 14 to 1. Why? I have no idea. Bryson De Chambeau, 16 to 1. DJ, 20 to 1. Schauffele, 20 to 1. Webb Simpson, 25 to 1. That makes sense to me. Patrick Cantlay, Colin Morikawa, Tiger Woods at 33-1, and Daniel Berger and Ricky Fowler. Why, I have no idea. Again, Ricky Fowler in a major at 35-1 with Daniel Berger, Doug. But one thing about Koepka, you're going for 3 here, but he does get himself tuned into majors and get ready. And you saw that last week down in Memphis. He put one in the water late in the round. He was threatening to win. Justin Thomas just played great ball, great short game with his irons last week. I think Bones Mackay on the bag was a real help for him because he doesn't have his regular caddy right now. But, that longtime Phil Mickelson caddy forever, I think 92 to 2018 or whatever it was. So quite a few years with Phil, so a good caddy. Your thoughts on Koepka here, and also your thoughts on Tiger Woods. I know Tiger's been working a lot with his putting. I think he'll have a lot of success on the greens, putting these greens. He knows them. He went to college in this general area. He's played this course a lot. But at the end of the day, your 2 thoughts on those players this week.
Yeah, I mean, with Koepka, you can't disregard him. I mean, he's like you said, he's always a guy that gears up for majors, and he's obviously made it well known too that he's very proud of what he's done. He was posed a question about him bogeying the last hole last week and not win the tournament, and he goes, "I am the 2-time defending champion of the PGA Championship, right?" And the guy said, "Yeah." He goes, "Okay, just wanted to get that out there." So, I mean, so this guy's very prideful. He has the game. His knee last week for the first time, was solid for all 4 rounds. So he should be in very good shape. He seems like, I wouldn't call it a lock, but he seems, a fairly good certainty to be in the top 5. Yet there's still a few questions. And the other thing, too, let's face it, it's easy to say, well, what a treat it would be to win 3 in a row. But to win 3 in a row, that also comes with pressure. And so does he thrive on it, or does he have a problem with it? As far as Tiger Woods, I mean, the guy's played, this will be his 2nd tournament in 5 months. He can practice all he wants. He can do all of those things. He's not 25 anymore. He's not 35 anymore, Tony. So I just don't know from a competitive standpoint that he's going to, when the juices get flowing, he's going to have some nerves, despite the fact that he's Tiger Woods. If you looked at the head-to-heads for the tournament, Tony, he is against anybody in the top 8 in terms of the odds that you mentioned. He is a dramatic underdog. I mean, we're talking plus 130, plus 160 for Tiger Woods in head-to-heads against the best players. I can't even look at anything with him, across the board. And you can't take who he's playing against either, because we're talking, 210s, on a head-to-head. Goodness, those are numbers that are just almost inconceivable.
Yeah, and one thing about when you're handicapping top 5, top 10, top 20 finishes, one of the best handicapping tools you can use is to look at first round and then tournament head-to-heads, certain players against other players, and you'll see a guy like Tiger Woods in there at 33-1, where he's a huge underdog against anybody that's on the board in front of him. That's probably not going to be a good bet for a top 10 or a top 20. In terms of placement, or especially a top 5. So that's one of the handicapping tools I use with the picks that we give you here today. And of course, I'm going to go ahead and get right to them. This is going to be, I think, a very close tournament. I don't think anybody's going to run away with this. I think it's going to come right down to Sunday. I think you're going to have 4 or 5 guys in the mix. I think you're going to have a pretty tight leaderboard. You're going to have players that are 7 or 8 deep, and you turn the channel and come back around, and all of a sudden they're only 5 under, because it's not hard to do a double bogey, even for a professional golfer on this golf course. I think guys off the tee box that are good are going to make some noise here, especially those that are strokes gained off the tee box. That's a key handicap for me in this week. And that takes a lot of the bigger name players out of it. And I think you have to handicap 20 or 30 deep into the field. But here we go. A top 5, and I think a player that's going to make a lot of noise and contend for this title. And that's going to be Xander Schauffele. I like him in the top 5 plus 320, and you can catch him in the top 10 at plus 160. For top 10, I'm going to take Daniel Berger. He's played well this year. In almost every tournament that he's been in, he's won one, albeit the one he won, Morikawa missed a 20-inch putt in a playoff for him to pick up the title. But at the end of the day, I thought he played well last week as well, especially on Sunday. His game is good right now. I think at plus 300 in the top 10 is a hell of a number for him. We're going to go with a top 20 best bet, and that's going to be Ryan Palmer. And I like Ryan Palmer in this tournament. If you take a look, I'm going to go ahead and give you some information on him. He's been excellent this season, and really no one's been talking about him. He was in contention until his last approach shot on Sunday at the Sony Open, was in the final group at Torrey Pines. Most recently finished second at the Memorial, tied for 15th last week at a WGC event, and he has the ability. He's in the top 15 in strokes gained off the tee box. He's got a good all-around game, and he can shape his shots. Top 20 best bet, Ryan Palmer is at plus 450, Doug, which I think there's a lot of value there. And every week I give you a long shot. Didn't do so good last week. I've got one for you this week. Round 1, top 20. Round 1, top 20. Lucas Glover at plus 500 is, I think, and that's simply because his all-around game, he can shape shots. He was better 10 years ago than he is today, but he is so good. Third on the PGA Tour in total driving and top 10 in strokes gained off the tee box. I can't pass it up for him to get a top 20, Doug, in round 1, and those are my picks for the tournament this week. The PGA Championship. Doug, what do you got?
You mentioned Ryan Palmer, and that was my free play winner last week, Tony. And that set the table for a heck of a week. I went 5-1 last week. See, I think it was up for the year. I'm at a season high, $3,100. So it's gone well. I'm going to change it up a little bit this week, as opposed to who to play. I'm going to tell you who to go against. Now, I already mentioned Tiger Woods. I got another one for you. And I got let's just say multiple bets for you on Justin Rose, because this is a major championship, so you get more betting options, and one of them is players to miss the cut. And I'm going to go with Justin Rose at plus 150 to miss the cut. Now, normally, Tony, you and I both know Justin Rose. We're having a discussion about top 10 or top 20 with Justin Rose. He is nowhere to be found. He's missed 3 straight cuts. He's missed 5 out of 7. His game is literally in the toilet right now. I think Justin Rose goes out quick. And if you're looking at tournament, anything with him, again, against any top 12 player for head-to-head tournaments, I would go against Justin Rose. The other one I'm not excited about is something that's in the top 12 is Bryson De Chambeau. Those long drives are great. Here's the problem. In his last 6 rounds, Tony, he's lost 13 shots on approach shots, for shots gained on approaches. 13 in 6 rounds. Horrible. This guy's never finished in the top 10 in a major, and it's going to add to that list this week too.
Yeah, if he goes about, this is not a bomber's course where you bomb it and then you got a wedge in your hand. You're going to have some long irons in your hand. Long iron in the fairway for a pro is a 5 or 6 iron. I mean, but they're used to hitting 8, 9 or wedge in on most of these courses that they play because they're straight away. This has a lot of nooks and crannies and bends. As we mentioned, 6 dog legs to the right, 6 dog legs to the left, narrow fairways. Also positioned in the fairway with a lot of these cypress trees that hang over that encumber approach shots for you to be in the fairway, but yet be in position. I think is going to bring in, a lot of guys, again, with that overall driving. One that we haven't mentioned that's really good in overall driving that doesn't get rattled in big tournaments is Sergio Garcia. Here's another player that can really hit it well off the tee box. He could tee off with the 3-wood and still get it, close to 300 yards out there. He's good with long irons. If his putter's working, he's going to be a factor. You might want to look at him. I didn't look at his number at the top 20 there at all. And if you want to look, speaking of fade players, if you want to look at a tournament matchup, I'll take Colin Morikawa plus 110 over Rory McIlroy any day of the week for a tournament matchup and head-to-head. Because just like Justin Rose, McIlroy really hasn't done much of anything this year. He gets talked about a lot. His game is not sharp for whatever reason, and it's just not one aspect of his game. He misses a lot of putts 10 and 8 feet in. He leaves a lot of chips either short or long around the green. His scrambling is terrible. If he's hitting his driver, he's as good as anybody in golf in terms of being in the middle and being, over 300 yards. But that's been inconsistent as well, Doug. So that'd be my fade pick against anybody in the top 10, top 15 against McIlroy head-to-head the first couple of days. You might be able to find some opportunity. So unless you got something else, we can wrap it up. Unless you can comment on that. You got anything else?
Yeah, the last thing I could just throw out is that, one of the things that's also important, as you mentioned, is that, the driving part of it. And with the way these greens are set up, just look for players that are pretty, long off the tee or, in the top 20, but also have the accuracy element too, but are not great putters because like a Paul Casey, a Morikawa, those guys, they can hit it long, they can hit it straight. But because they're not great putters, they miss so many opportunities on a weekly basis. On flatter greens like this, that's going to bring them, I think, more into play. So whether you're looking at, a variety of top 20s, top 10 finishes, or like what you do, Tony, when you do the head-to-heads on a daily basis, those guys, I think, have some added value because they'll have an opportunity to make more putts on these types of greens.
Yes, and that's part of my handicapping for my head-to-heads. I'll have them up at Doc Sports. Look up there somewhere let me get this right up there. You can't see my hand. You get a free $60. Doug Upstone is on fire in almost every sport. He's handicapping right now, including off a 5-1 week with his golf picks. I am at 66% in golf picks over my last 30 picks. On head-to-heads, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have a banner week for you on head-to-heads over at Docs this week. So be sure and get over there. Take that free $60 if you've never been a member in that link in the description below. And you can get daily cards or $30 in any sport. There'll be multiple picks on there. So be sure and take advantage of it. This is going to be on ESPN this week at Not Golf Channel for the early rounds. And ESPN is going to have extended coverage. So get some skin in the game. Get some action. Because you can sit around. A lot of us are unemployed. We need to make a little extra money. Well, hell, I'm going to be sitting around all day long in the air conditioning on the couch with no honey-do list, no cleaning out the garage, no organizing the pants, whatever the old lady wants me to do. It ain't going to happen. It's a PGA major. Let's make some money. Get over to Docs. He's Doug Upstone. I'm Tony George. Join us again next week for another golf show. Until then, enjoy the PGA Championship. Get all the winners right there at DocSports.com.